All right. All right. What's up, guys? I hope it's working. I hope you can hear me right now. I should be on here with Ian Carnegie. Yeah, this is the first of the TAWF FlameCast. So this podcast is going to be mainly focused around talking about TAWF and whatever news we have about the event coming up and hyping the event up. But we're also just going to be talking about arm wrestling in general. Having Ian on here, we're definitely going to cover a lot of things about Mac. And as we have different guests, we'll be talking to them about arm wrestling in general and whatever they have to bring to the table as far as that is concerned. But the topic at hand is going to be focused on TAWF, which is the Team Arm Wrestling Federation, which is a Table Monkeys original and partnership with Mac, and we are using Mac tables. And the rule set has amalgamated itself to now where we use basically the exact same rule set. So that is so it's totally coherent on that front. And I've been really involved with Mac a lot, so there's just a tight friendship relationship between myself and Ian and Mac in general. So that's part of the reason why he's the first guest. I will introduce Ian Carnegie, creator of the Mac Table and co-founder of Major Armwrestling Championships. How's it going, Ian?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. A little tired because I was practicing the park again today, and the end of that day after lugging the tables around and everything, always a little bit tired, but I'm excited to get this podcast going because this is it's gonna be fun to be on here with you and talking about the draft. But just as we're building towards TAWF, it's obviously exciting for me.
Oh, I love it. I love this team thing. I love that I'm being part of this mock draft, and I'm curious to see if our selections are going to be the same. I'm curious to see on the 7th when the actual draft happens, uh, how close we are to. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Because I don't know everybody, I'll be honest with you. Like I know the majority of the people, and I have my favorites, so I'm going to be biased, obviously.
yep,
You go with what you know. So it'll be interesting to see the team captains and where they go. But I'll say with regards to what you're talking about before, we might as well just call them the Mac Tough rules. I mean,
yeah,
if you're going to use them and they're identical, then they're your rules as well. So
yeah,
uh, you know, I've always said this before, like I don't have to be right. I just want to be on the side that's closest to right. And if someone else is right, more right than me, we'll adopt that. You get what I mean? We just
yeah.
want to be on the side that is pushing the sport to the future in different directions that to make sure that this sport isn't stagnating and giving us like blah. And
Yeah.
I think the team aspect is phenomenal. I think the fact that it's Mac rules is going to make sure that everything is flowing and going, and it's not there's not too many stalls in the game, if that makes sense, any lulls.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but that was the Mac rules and the Mac table. It just made so much sense right off the bat. Neither of us were at the point where I could end up using Mac tables for Tough One, the one that you ended up being a part of, which I wish I was able to. I wish that had it worked out because you would have gotten a chance to actually compete on the Mac tables. Like hindsight being 2020, I really wish that it was a Mac table for that event for that reason.
I was
Uh,
okay with it because you did
but
remember
I
you
did,
did.
but yeah, I was gonna say, but I did amalgamate to the point of using a pad where I was like, the pad is perfect. I tried to do it in a bit of a different way. I think the table is way better than the pad that I created. I think the pad's still kind of clever. But it was the table is a way better way to do it, and the table feels so much nicer to use than any other table. So just changing the pad on a regular table is not anything like pulling on a Mac table.
Yeah, fair enough.
Uh,
Yeah, I loved it though. It was fun. I knew from that time. I admitted to you, I was like, I'm kind of jealous, Jason, because
yeah,
this was so fucking fun. And because of the type of athlete I am, like, or I was at the time. I'm not nearly that good anymore, but I certainly was like, oh, this style, like, is not like a super match, right? It was like I got to take a break because other rounds
Yeah.
were happening, and that was perfect for me. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, and so I really like appreciate it, and I love it. I'm sorry if I look distracted. I'm actually just setting up
No,
for
no, please.
our draft.
Yeah, yeah, no, we're so that's for anybody watching right now, we're gonna do a little mock draft. Ian's gonna pick the teams based on the list that we posted the other day, which is the active list of eligible pullers. And if you're watching along and you go to the Instagram, either my Instagram or Table Monkey's Instagram, you'll see the post there with the list, and you can check it for yourself. But it basically, the way it works is you have anybody that lives within 150 kilometers of Toronto is only going to be eligible to be picked by Toronto. So they're not eligible to be picked by Montreal. And then same thing for the guys within that radius for Montreal. So that's why you see two different lists. But there's a lot of guys, like all the guys in Ottawa or Kingston. Like there's a lot of areas around Ontario, like St. Catharines, and basically anything outside of, actually St. Catharines might fall. I can't remember if Rick is in which he might not be on Montreal's list, and I'm not looking at it at the moment. But anyway, you get the point. Is so there's a lot of guys that can be picked by either side. So that's where the strategy is going to come involved for the draft. And it's like we said, it's going to be really interesting to see who actually gets picked at the time. Because sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, like, did we not mention, say, for example, uh, if say Quebec doesn't use one of their top guys, or Ontario doesn't draft one of their top guys, does the other team have the option to pick from the other province?
We had talked about that, like on the side, and that might get implemented in a full season, maybe when there's like multiple teams picking. But for
Yeah.
this one, that I've and for the way it's working, that I thought was going to get a little too confusing. But that is something that can change as things go on. I mean, that's another thing with team sports, right? Is every season there's little changes. You know what I mean? There's little adaptations to what might make the game more effective, efficient, exciting, and by creating this team environment and creating the season and the way the rules are set up and trying to and the draft and everything, there's going to be so many little things that we can adopt or evolve as we go along. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we are simply taking, so I see two lists with so the names under the Saints and the name under the Smoke, that is all I'm allowed to pick from for these two teams, correct?
Yeah, and then you'll
Okay.
notice that like there's like John Terrian's on both
Yeah.
lists, Curtis Cameron's on both lists. So Alan Ford should be on both lists. Yeah, but where Mike Smith is only on Toronto and
Because of his radius.
and Mate Bouchot, that those guys are only on Quebec because they're within 150 kilometers of Quebec. So um, and yeah, that's the way that I set it up for this one. So
Yeah. Okay.
and here's Pascal joining. So Pascal is one of the guys on the list, and I what's up, Pascal?
I can't see him.
You can't see him yet, or
No.
maybe talk like if is your screen flip or do you have him?
Okay, I just swiped over. Hey man, what's up? No, he doesn't hear us.
Doesn't hear us yet. All right, when you figure it out, just chime in and we'll get you in the conversation. But yeah, and I put the list or I put the link in the.
That's it.
Yeah, there you are.
Can you turn up your volume a bit?
Can I speak louder, maybe?
Yes, that.
Perfect. Yeah.
Ça va bien, mon ami?
Ça va super, vous autres?
Pas pire, merci. All right.
I'm very grateful that you speak French, and my French is
Yeah.
absolutely.
I can speak. I can speak English too, so don't.
No, I know you can, and I appreciate that. And I'm sorry for the fact that I'm ignorant to language like that, but I appreciate that Ian handle that. My wife is the one, she speaks like 6 languages, so
Yeesh.
takes care of it. Not, I'm exaggerating. I think it's 3 realistically, or 4 if you count.
But she's also the brains in the family.
She's definitely adds to the pile.
That's great.
So just to clarify though, it's a total of 8 per team, right?
Yeah, it's going to be 8 per team, and then 1 reserve as well, which will happen on the draft night as well, right? So it's basically 2 starters and 1 reserve per weight class.
Okay,
that's how it works out.
2 starters plus 1 reserve. How many people is that then? Because like if you do light,
that's 12. That's 12 per team.
Okay.
So you get 1 reserve per weight class, right? Because
I have to adjust my thing now because of that.
Oh shit. Well, the reserve is going to be an interesting pick because we all know how arm wrestling is, and if anything happens or something comes up and a guy isn't available, or even like a weight situation, like Jake Charles, for example, he hasn't made 205 in a while. He said he can make it, but if a week out he has to be honest with himself. If he can't make it, he might, if he's a starter and he can't make weight, then the reserve's got to be ready, and that can happen. So because for the format, it's not going to be like the previous format in the first rendition ever, the one that you were a part of, Ian. The weight classes could be different. So a team could have 3 in one weight class, and the other team might have 2 in that weight class. But in this one, it's 2 for everybody and 2 for both teams in each weight class is what shows up at the game. And then the way the game is played is every round is 1 match of each, like left and right of each weight class. So lightweight left, lightweight right, so on and so forth. And then we repeat that 4 times.
So both participants of each weight category need to be pulling left and right too.
However, that's part of the strategy, right? So if you're better right and the other guy's better left, it makes sense the first match that you guys pull that way. But depending on how the matches go, as the other team gets tired, and there's also substitutions, there might be a situation where you pull left if you're the right-hand guy or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because once a couple pulls happen, even though you have enough time to rest, we know fatigue and arm wrestling, like it can really change things, and also styles, right? Like if the other guy is, sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna say this. My strategy with this would be like, obviously, I'm gonna pick guys I know because they're safer bets for me personally. But I also am gonna look for the guys who are most ambidextrous. It's great that certain people are super good in one hand, but if you're really good and you're balanced in both, then you just offer more for your team as either a fill-in or a main guy. You get what I'm saying? So if you are ambidextrous, you'll probably get my vote on this. But listen, I'm not here to influence the team captains here. I mean, they're gonna have to dive deep into their own team lists here and make the best. But I'm interested to see how close our picks are compared to the team captains on the day.
Yeah, and I want to do this multiple times.
They're gonna go for
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just can't wait to see which kind of strategy they're going to go for.
Yeah, it should also depend who the other team picks. If the other team picks a certain puller for a weight class, like Ian said, if they go with a left-hand specialist, that might change your pick. Where you're like, okay, his left is so good. Like, if I pick 2 guys that are good right and left, is their left good enough to deal with his left, kind of thing? Or am I ending up just giving up the first couple matches or whatever? And again, with the way the strategy and the point system works, there's a lot of opportunities for point swings. And if people pull up a weight class, one thing I don't think has been clear, because the way the weight classes work, each weight class is an extra point. So the base points for lightweight is 4, and the base points for so light 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that how it is?
Lighter weights can jump up though, right?
Yeah. Sorry, it's 3. So 3, 4, 5, 6 is the 3, 4, 5, 6 are the base points. So light, medium, or middle, heavy, and super. So if a lightweight pulls a middleweight, it's a 4-point win, right? But because he pulled up, he gets an extra point. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not just that he gets that match in the bracket is a 4-point base point for that match, no matter what, regardless of who pulls. But if you pull with a guy up a weight class, then if he wins, he gets an extra point. So he gets 4 points
higher classes
plus plus an extra point, right? So it becomes a 5-point win for a regular win. Does that make sense, Ian?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But so it doesn't matter if you're like on the light end, no matter where you pull, you will achieve the points if you win of whatever level you pulled at.
Of that level you pulled at, plus the difference.
Oh, plus the difference.
Yeah, that's where it's worth, because otherwise, like, it's just for the win. But now it makes the lighter guy worth, because that win, no matter what, is worth 5 points or 6 points. Or do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Like the super heavyweight win is worth 6 points, no matter who wins it. But if a lighter guy wins it, like if a heavyweight wins it, he earns an extra point, like a bonus point for pulling up a class. So he wins the 6-point base point, and then let's say the score that he gets is 7 because the other guy had a foul, right? Because he pulled up a class, his win is actually 8 points.
Jeez.
So again, that's where it can create these big swings, you know? And then there's also the gamble that each team has, which means that they have 2 matches throughout the entire game at any point they can gamble on, meaning that the points are doubled. So if they win them, they get double, but if the other team wins them, they get double. So again, big opportunities for like huge point swings. So even if you lose, even if the first round goes a certain way, it doesn't mean that's how the whole game is going to go. Like, there's going to be so many opportunities for the teams to change a match, you know.
But in what kind of situation a team can decide to bring their lightweight against the middleweight? In what kind of situation does it bring up? Or
like, when does it make sense?
Yeah, when is it going to happen in the competition?
Well, they don't know ahead of time, correct? Basically, you select before the round. You have to select everybody that's going to be in it, and we'll know what hand per round in advance. So we'll see like lightweight left, heavyweight right, or whatever. So then you look at that, and then you talk to your team, and then they plug in what player is going to be in that, right? So so we don't know and they don't know, but they get what, a minute, 2 minutes to make that decision. And then
you get 2 minutes. Yeah.
Once the names are submitted at the 2 minutes, boom, it comes up on the screen, and now you know who you're going against. And at that point, maybe you have a light guy going against a heavyweight because you think you're guessing what they're going to use, and you might say like Alexander Kajadze might beat a guy 2 weight categories ahead of him, and you're anticipating they're going to use a particular guy. So it's the strategy, right? Let's use Alex at the heavyweight.
And Ian, now the way the format is now, it's not random. Every round is exactly the same. Every round is lightweight left, lightweight right, middleweight left, middleweight right, and all 4. And
fine, but the names are random.
Names are random, yes, exactly. But I'm saying you do know, like, so then you can kind of judge it on, okay, Alexander had a grinder left-handed, or let's say Alexander's a good example. So let's say the heavyweight guy, Tyler Bolzan, had a grinder of a match left-handed first round, right? So and Alexander didn't pull left-handed in the first round for whatever reason. Now the second round, it might make sense to jump him up, make it a gamble, go for the win, the 2 extra points, the extra, you know, like, and get a big win with him there going after Tyler, which for Alexander would be a huge win just to have. And you get what I'm saying? So that's where you start to come in. And then also, Pascal, to answer your question, the other opportunity would be that each team has, in this format, I believe it's 2 substitutions. So 2 points in the game, they can sub out whatever match is happening next. Okay. So if for some reason let's say like Ian said, when the names come up on the board, they see an opportunity where they're like, oh, let's switch that and actually put Alexander in on that match. They can do that during that round, like as the matches are happening, they can call a substitution, and then it happens, and then the other team has 30 seconds to decide if they want to sub as well, or react, or just keep the puller the same.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's
so it really increases the, you know, the intensity and the meaningfulness of the time that's passing, you know, as opposed to it just being, you know, people waiting for the next time to pull. Like there's things that the teams can do to change the course of the game in that time, right?
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So sorry. Anyway, Pesca, one of the reasons too I put the thing in the chat, and we're going to do it every week, is so people can get on here and introduce themselves. So we've been rambling on about the thing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where you pull and how long you've been pulling, and just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I've been pulling for the past 6 years, seven years in 2 months. And the past few years, I've been winning a provincial and national in some categories. So next week it's national in Canada, so I'll be pulling in the 165 pounds category, or 175 if I'm willing to. But right now I'm around 180 right now. So
180. Okay, so depending on how the weight cut goes.
Yep. But I'm used to do it in a week, so it's just depend of how the work goes through the week too. So, but really primed up, got a lot of rest, got so many good table time in the past month. So I just can't wait to put it all
Who,
in
who
action.
do you normally pull with?
You mean in team?
Yeah, like, or yeah, club or.
Yeah, I'm pulling with the Doubt, based in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, or in Mirabel too. So, but I've been pulling, like I've been going to Sherbrooke, I've been going to Montreal, I've been going to Trois-Rivières too, in sometimes. I've been going to the Eye-Hookers in Ontario too when I can. So,
Nice.
but the Doubt is the closest to me, so it's easier for me to go in the middle of the week. So yeah.
Who are some of the guys there? Just I don't know many of the Quebec clubs, so the part of the fun of this is too is I'm going to get to learn and meet some people.
In Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, there's many people, but it's with Marc-André Campeau. So he's
Okay, yeah,
the president of the association here in Quebec.
yeah.
There's so many people. I couldn't do a proper list for you. I'm not too
Oh,
good.
but that gives
There's
me.
many people around that team. The Doubts. We're many to show up at each practice. We're around 20 something every time. So
Nice. That's
there's a
awesome.
lot of action going on. There's a lot of table ready to play with. So yeah, a
Nice.
lot of good time in the past month.
And what do you do for work?
For work, I'm a consultant at my for my own business. So
Okay.
I'm do project managing and supervising work. But I at my own company. So
Oh, nice. Good for you. Okay, cool. So arm wrestling is just. Do you train, like, how'd you get into the arm wrestling?
I mean, it's all arm wrestling started to make me curious when maybe when I was 16 years old at a party, and I was the lightest guy in the place at around 125 pounds. And I beat every single guy that was there at the practice, being the smallest. And I've already told myself maybe there's something there I could start with somehow. But I didn't do it for the 10 years that followed. And I'm doing a lot of climbing or martial arts, and
Okay.
just training in a gym for many years. And I've been curious to see that there was an open practice with the Doubt at the time 6 years ago, and I tried it. And I went to the practice, and I thought I would be like good somehow, but finally I actually like it was a big clap in the face, seeing that having no technique at all, it was
Yeah.
not going anywhere good for me on the table at that time. So it took me about 4 months that I get back home and start to train properly for arm wrestling. And then going back to a practice and see the guys that were beating me, like flashing me, and now I could hold them, I could try some techniques. It really made me fall in love
That's
with the
cool.
sports afterward, and I never stopped since then. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, usually
passion
my
since
next question usually for people is what sport. So the climbing and the working out, but the climbing obviously has a little bit of carryover, you know, and your
of
strength's
course.
already pretty strong. And we actually had a guy today start a practice, and he met somebody climbing that has come to practice before. That was like, you should go to practice. So he's a climber and works
Yep.
out. Yeah, I mean, again, same thing. I think he's probably arm wrestled a lot of people before and done well, and thought like, oh, I'm going to do good, and it was, he got stopped quickly, but
Yeah.
his hand's already strong. He's going to be good if he sticks to it. So
That's what climbing bring is like the hands and the arms are really strong, but it's arm wrestling is all about technique mostly. So you
yeah,
can be strong, but with no techniques, it's like
yeah, that's how we always describe it. It's a fight sport in which strength is the number one factor to winning. So you have to be strong enough to be in the fight.
yeah.
Uh, but once the strengths are close, it's all fight. It's not really a measure of strength
I really
anymore.
like to compare it to martial arts. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, you said martial
that
arts too. You did.
you got
Yeah,
mental strength too that you need to have to bring to the table to head up. So yeah,
yeah.
it's a big combination. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So 180. So yeah, and you're on the list at the
The way to
175
165.
class.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
Saskatchewan National this year.
Yeah, and then at nationals, you're gonna go for 165. That's awesome. And which hand are you dominant with?
I mean, I'm dominant with left. I'm most comfortable with left. But you see, at provincial this year, I went first right and second left. So they're always close, and it always depends on how the competition goes. But and even at national last year, I finished first left and second right. So they're always close. And right now, I'm training both. So I'm hoping for the best for each of them.
Nice, awesome. All right, thank you very much. We got a couple guys in the chat. Dan the Nightmare is in there. What's up, Dan? And Drew 24. So yeah, thank you guys. How you guys doing? And Ian, what you're excited to get this pick going? Do you want to?
I've been cheating. I've been filling in my brackets, but
Go
I
ahead. Tell
just
me
want,
where
I want to
you're at. So,
organize.
what's the only thing? So it's gonna go Montreal first, since Toronto has the home court, obviously. So Montreal gets the first pick. So what was your first pick as Montreal?
Alain Gouye
Alain?
for lightweight. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Now, one thing to note is Alain can't be picked by the other team.
No, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
remember, this is not official. This is just my
Yeah.
opinion, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have been picking my guys. So what I did while you guys were talking is I put my first picks for all of them, and now I'm on the process of making my second picks, but I'm following the rules. So obviously my Toronto smoke pick is somebody else, yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, yeah. And but the reason I point that out is just because I'm really interested to see how that's been going. When this first started coming together, I kind of wanted to dictate the first like two picks just to make sure that the teams end up with certain people so that you don't end up with a certain duo or whatever. And as the draft has built out and it's gotten to where it is, I'm like, there's no need for that. However they pick could be so interesting. But to me, the fact like Curtis and John are two of the guys that are the open guys that are on both lists that are kind of the top picks, but they might not end up being a top pick. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but yeah, interesting just to mention that, and that's the kind of stuff I want to bring up as much as possible just to show how the strategy works. But so Ian, who's your second pick or your first pick for Toronto?
Alexander Kasadze.
Yeah.
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 He's definitely going to be one of the superstars. He's at Armours right now with Coach Ray. So
yeah. I saw the picture. Yeah, they're chilling.
yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah. So did you do second picks or?
I have, but why don't we do? Let's go through. So that was the first pick, lightweight. Let's do first pick, middleweight. That way we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll leave you guys here. So maybe
no worries. Hey, Pascal, thank you so much for joining, and
pleasure,
I
guys.
appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Hey, see you next time. Thank
Yeah,
you.
have a good night. All right, ciao.
So, what's his role in this? Is he one of the
Yeah,
coaches?
he's on the lightweight list. But he's he's one of the guys that's a little less known, but he's won provincials and he's done well at nationals recently. So he was one of the guys that came highly recommended from Eric Rosen and from Mark, who he mentioned was who he started with, Mark Andre. They both said that lightweight he would be really good, and I think Christian mentioned him too when he gave me his list of guys to reach out to. But I don't really know the Quebec guys that well, so I took Eric and Mark and Christian's advice and just reached out to a bunch of guys, and then went with who got back and who was interested. And he's one of the guys, and he does have a good pedigree, but he's newer and he's not as well known. So it'd be interesting to see where he ends up, and that's probably why he wanted to come on too, is to get himself out there a little bit, which is a good thing to do. So
Yeah.
so yeah, but yeah, so Alain and then Alexander, your first two picks. So now let's get your middleweight picks, or
Yeah. My middle. So for the Quebec team, I kind of wanted him for the Ontario team, but I had my anyways, I went with John Terrian.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And my middleweight for Toronto Smoke, I went with Jake Charles. And that was a little bit more, I know John's French Ontarian, Ontario.
yeah,
But he can speak French, and I figured that would just help out, you know what I mean? So I divided them like that. Yeah, so what do you think? So Montreal gets John Terrian, and Toronto gets Jake Charles.
yeah. No, I agree with both those, and in my again how what I was mentioning earlier, like I kind of feel like John is probably going to be the first pick. I feel like Montreal should go after him first so that Toronto doesn't get a chance to take him, because he's open for both. So because the picks don't have to be in order of light, middle, heavy, or super in the actual draft. I like that you're doing it that way. I think it's a better way for us to do it as we're doing this mock draft now. But the actual picks, they can pick whoever they want first. So Curtis could be the first pick for Montreal, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So then they could end up with Curtis and Sylvain on their team, which makes their heavyweights pretty dominant. But at the same time, if the other team ends up with Rick and Zach, or Rick and Adam Wallace, like that could end up being a pretty crazy bunch of matchups. You know what I mean?
you know, I was torn between you know what? I'm gonna change my pick. Man, I don't know. Because these guys are like 1A, 1B for me.
What's that?
You know what? I'll leave it alone. Well, when we get to it, for the second pick, for our middleweight, I'll explain to you who that is and why it was so tough for me. You know what I mean?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, it was a super tough. Like I, in fairness, I should switch. But then I'll tell you what, I will tell you when we get to the second one, and then I will make the switch. But I don't want to do it now because we got other names
like
to go through. Okay.
Somebody's giving you a shout out in the chat, so I'm just going to read it quick. Excuse my third grade reading level. I think it's Santa Valley Arm Wrestling, Arizona, and he says, "What up, guys? Hey, Ian Carnegie. I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at East First West 17. It's Maximus. I'm 17 years old. Puller from Arizona."
Yes, I remember. He was. This is a sweet story. Tell him I remember.
You have to tell him he's watching, so tell him.
All right, I remember what you asked me to do for you too, and I remember it was a big deal for you. So yeah, trust me and believe I remember you.
Awesome, that's cool. Well, I might remember that story too, but that's either way, that's awesome. So yeah, it's what do you say? It's Ian blah blah blah. Maximus, what's up, Maximus? Yeah. So okay, so now you did John and Jake, and now it's heavyweights.
Yeah.
So heavyweight picks first Montreal, then Toronto.
Alan Ford
Yeah.
and for Montreal.
Yeah.
And BLM for the Smoke.
Yeah. They're going to end up being split up, and that's going to be pretty awesome. And BLM he's not sure how his right's going to be, but I still think that he's dominant enough left. And if his right is just on the table a month before, like it's still going to be good enough to be like something to fuck with, you know what I mean? So I think he's a very solid pick. And then and Alan. So I'm happy that you went that way, and those guys got split up, and that's one of the things that I thought was really fun, is the idea that the Ottawa guys are eligible for both teams. So I was hoping to see them split up. So now it's supers.
Yeah. Again, I went. It's crazy because my secondaries on the Ontario or Toronto Smoke could flip easily. Um, but I'm going to go with the guy that's a bit more active and he's been kicking out. He's on a winning streak as opposed to a losing streak. Okay. But directly and through competition, my secondary guy generally beats the primary guy. Okay. So on my Montreal team, I have Sylvain Pro.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been super inactive, but he's one of those guys that he's got such a baseline strength. He puts 2, 3 months together. He becomes a top 5 puller in Canada immediately. Like he's just that good. He's beaten everybody under the sun. So I'm gonna give the nod for Sylvain. Okay. For the Toronto Smoke, and I hope my buddy Rick doesn't get too mad at me, but I'm gonna go with Curtis.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Curtis Cameron because his left is bananas. Like he is killing everybody left and right, super balanced. Rick beats Curtis left and right, but Rick loses to a lot of guys that Curtis can beat. And and Rick has been on a bit of a downslide, right? So
And if I'm right, Rick. Yeah, so Rick is not eligible for Montreal. So
no,
now you've got, if you pick Curtis as Toronto, then your next heavyweight is Rick no matter what, and he can't be taken, so you don't have to worry about it. So you've got Curtis and Rick together, which as a duo becomes really hard to beat because, like you said, the guys that Curtis can't beat, Rick can probably beat. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. So
So that's a good duo to put together. Same here. So again, my feeling, I feel like the draft, I really feel like Mike's should and is going to pick uh, Curtis first because Alexander can't be picked by Montreal. So you don't have to worry about him getting stolen. You can even pick him as your last pick. He's guaranteed to be on Toronto because Montreal can't steal him. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So while there's guys in the open pool like Alan Ford and Curtis and John Terrian, you don't want to waste that early pick on a guy that you're going to get as long as you don't make some silly mistake and not choose him and pick 3 other guys first and forget that.
yeah,
But 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 yeah. So again, I'm just I love how you're picking it right now, but I love thinking about that in relevance to how this actual strategy to play out. And I like that by doing this enough times, how the actual draft plays out will be so up in the air, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Like you're thinking hard. So what's your
Oh, it's bothering me now because I got like, because you know why? It's like it's not for me. It's like playing chess against yourself
yeah.
now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm trying to be non-biased to a particular team. Like I could see a way where I could stack it heavily for one or the other, but I don't want to do that, obviously. Um, you know,
But
it's
like so where do you start to stack it?
oh, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to influence anybody. But I literally you could.
Oh, but I'm interested to know that because that's again part of the strategy. As a if let's say Christian, for example, makes the first pick, and let's say your strategy to stack it is to make sure that you get Elaine, John, Alan, and Sylvain in each class, and you know that you get Elaine and Sylvain, they're guaranteed. So you just have to make sure to get John and Allen in the first 2 picks, and you should be able to do that. Well, the other team can, you get John first, and even as much as they want Curtis and they don't want you to get Sylvain and Curtis, like they could cut it off by picking Allen, and now they left the door open for you to put Sylvain and Curtis on the same team. So there's become so many different ways to that the strategy could unfold. So I like the idea. I would like you to point out what team, like how to stack, because it'll let the other team figure out a way to block it. You know what I mean?
Well, I gotta say, there is enough names here that I'm ignorant to that I don't know their current level. And that could blow my theory out of the water, right? Because, like, for example, I never even knew who Pierre Cote was, right?
Yeah.
And welcome to fucking welcome to the show, Pierre Cote, because he beat me.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
he'll compete as a heavyweight in this, like, so
yeah, because he's light enough, right?
he can make it. Yeah, he did. He was pretty full when he pulled you. Like he was in the 50s, 250s, but he said that was intentional and he could make 245 no problem. Um so that yeah, that again, that's another thing. And also, not that we want to divulge, but Mac 4, if you look at the list, like there's some matches that'll happen that could really end up changing a pick.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
like
Interesting.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So because it's the week after, so depending on how some of those matches go, if you notice some of those names as you think about it, it's like, oh, that could actually change who might be getting picked the next week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. I have my complete list now.
All right, so this is second round now.
I've been so diligent, like while we were talking.
Yeah,
I got everybody. So how I did it was I picked my number one and number two, and then the third option was the reserve.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So where are we now?
We're
We're
on number
back.
two, lightweight. We're at your first pick for Montreal. Your second, like, lightweight for Montreal.
Matt Smith.
Nice. All right.
And for Toronto, I picked Miguel LeBlanc.
Yeah, Miguel and Alexander, if they end up together, would be pretty cool. They're like
Yeah.
super Toronto OG.
Yeah,
So
and they're close, right? Like in terms of
yeah,
like friendship wise. So
yeah,
it's good to have teammates being teammates.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Club mates being this team. Okay. What do you
And
think?
they pull very differently, like they have different styles. So uh utilizing them together would make sense, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna blow this up now so I can.
I like that Matt Smith pick. Because I feel like I mean him and Elaine is a crazy combo, and then there's yeah, that's an interesting. I like that.
Okay, so we're moving on to middleweight.
Yep.
So geographically, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I remember I was picking best available. Okay. Montreal, I gave Shea Dickey.
Interesting.
And then here's where I remember I said that I would switch my first choice to second choice. And I'll tell you why I went with Jake Charles over this person is because on a head to head, Jake had beaten Jamie Staken.
Yeah.
But I think Jamie's been proving himself up against the top guys really well, like as of like on major stages. He, tournaments and stuff like that, maybe he takes a loss here and there, but when it comes to like a major event, Jamie's been doing very well.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, so
He's
I'm
really good both arms. He's no, he's a solid puller. To me, the middleweights is crazy. It's stacked, and I was like, I just don't know who's going to end up on the teams because there's so many uh there's so many good guys on the in the middleweights.
so to make the correction, my number one middleweight for Toronto Smoke is Jamie. My number two is Jake Trust. But they're literally 1A, 1B.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and skill set, you might even say that Jake is better skill sets. Okay. But I'm also looking and the head to head, Jake did beat Jamie, but I don't put a lot into like a tournament win. You know what I mean? And that was a left-handed match. And Jake actually or Jamie did beat Jake right-handed.
I think the point is putting them together is the answer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, one is
it's like
dominant, left, one is
my brother's guitar teacher, when he was like, well, you can buy a Fender or you can buy a Gibson, or you can just buy both because you're gonna end up wanting both. Like,
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Where are we at?
they end up
Heavyweight?
both on Toronto. So heavyweights now, yeah, Montreal's second heavyweight.
Well, I went with Pierre Cote. I don't know what his left is like, but his right is pretty
Yeah, I
badass.
like that pick.
Yeah, he's his shoulder press. So once he gets in there, it was Mike Aiello strong for me. That's what I remember. First thing when he pressed me, when I really tried to go inside with him, and he was able to come right down on me. It reminded me of Mike Aiello a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
he's kind of a similar build. He's not as tall, but he's about 6'4", and he's got his shoulders are just like boulders, like when they like it's like a bowling.
I think they're both 6'4", aren't they? Like I think Mike
Mike
Aiello's
was like his stat card says 6'5" or 6'6".
is it?
He's not really that tall. Maybe like I've never met him. I don't know. But Pierre was definitely taller than me by a couple inches.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think he said 6'2", 6'3", actually, but he's a big imposing dude, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of pissed me off when I saw our fight posters. They used a picture of me when I was like massive and I was in the WAL, my forearms this big, and then they used this weird picture where he's completely being out angled in the poster by me, and so I was like, I'm gonna kill this guy. Then in reality, I'm this short, fat man, and he's this giant guy. I'm like, this is not what the poster was
Yeah.
advertising here. So yeah, I went with Pierre Cote on the Montreal Saints, and with the number 2 pick in the heavyweight draft for the Toronto Smoke, I selected Mike Smith, your guy.
Nice. I like
Yeah,
it.
I mean, we're super balanced, right?
Yeah.
He's got a great right
Super
arm,
balanced is a good point. Yeah.
super balanced, really strong right, super strong left. We're
Yeah, and
probably
he's been improving a lot. Like he's when that guy that's like already really strong starts to figure the lanes out and like he always had a couple really strong lanes, but he's figured out how to like tie the pieces together now where he can attack with this move or that move, and they're counters to each other enough that if he's set up and he can go one way or the other, it makes it hard to guess. And then he's still got that like relentless just side pressure. So now that he's figured out how to harness like his initiation more and tying the moves together,
yeah.
he's like when the strong guys start to figure it out, they like start to level up quickly, you know?
And it's a good time to put them on the same team because they're gonna hate each other after after Mach 4, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be good for them to just be on
Yeah, BLM, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
BLM, so
And then they're going against Alan and Pierre.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Alan and Pierre have a long day left-handed. Like Alan and Pierre have a hard time winning a left-handed match. And if Mike and BLM can get one right-handed match, they should be able to tip the scale on those matches for the game. You know what I mean?
You know what? You're right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, well, that's part of how like you've got who's your middles on Montreal is John and Shea, right?
For Toronto, sorry?
No, for Montreal.
For middle is John and Shay at the moment, but I also have a third pick, right? Um,
Yeah, but yeah, it would have to be so you'd have to switch them for one of those two, obviously. Like at the game, like before the game starts,
yeah, okay, so yes, so
the
that
reserves
John's
are only
left.
the reserves are only if one of your first two can't make the game for some reason or they have an injury or
Right. So you
or
would have to go to, yeah, exactly. And I think Shay and John's left are pretty good. I know John's is pretty good if it's healed by well, he just competed.
I
He just
know he
so
did
he did
well.
so he didn't really have an injury. Like
I don't think so, or
no,
he's just as
yeah,
superhuman as he seems.
yeah, yeah.
But no, yeah, I think he's all right, which is awesome. But anyway, that's an interesting. I like how that worked out. So, what's your Super's second pick for Montreal?
So I went out east and I went with Patrick McKinnon, which you'll find strange because there was another guy who's more dominant than Patrick right-handed, but I felt like this guy's left hand is they needed something to compete with what is Toronto's coming with left-handed. So
Yeah.
I prioritized the left hand for Montreal, and because my second pick for the supers we already talked about is Rick Heidebreck, who's
Yeah.
very balanced. But Patrick McKinnon, if he's still training and still growing, and he could be. I think he could beat Rick. I think he could beat Rick like left-handed. To be fair.
Yeah. And he's another one, like I was saying, like Mike, he's a young puller who's new enough to it and really strong. Like he's just brutally strong just to begin with. He's gonna really start to figure the game out. And as he does, his every 5% he figures out technically is gonna relate itself like 10 or 20% of strength on the table, because he's just gonna be getting access to all that strength that he already has,
Yeah.
So I really like that pick. And yeah, he looks like he's lost a good amount of weight too. Like he's still like 280 or something, like he's still a monster, but he's leaned out a lot, and like I said, he's still young. So like the progress that he's going to make from the last time we saw him pull, which the last time we saw him pull was when he pulled Porky, right?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was strong, no doubt. But
I don't think he has anything out east that's even close to him left-handed. So it's tough for him to really gauge his
where he's
levels.
at, yeah. But going against Porky, I'm sure he learned a lot. There's probably so much that he's worked on since then that, um, and uh, and yeah, I really like that pick. I like that pick a lot, because the other one that the other left-hander there that you might be looking at is Nathan. Uh, if and again, we don't know where he's got the right move. Like he has the right style and move, I think, to be a problem for Curtis left-handed. But I feel like Rick would have a good answer for him. You know what I mean?
I went with Rick over Nathan uh, because of Rick's balance.
100%. I agree with that.
I think Nathan beats Rick left right now as well. But
Yeah, he definitely could. I think that Rick has more of an easier answer than Curtis, but Curtis is strong enough that he could be tough for Nathan. But Nathan has the right move for Curtis, that he could just make it hard.
yeah. So do you want to go on reserves?
Yeah, let's see your reserve picks for
For lightweight, I went with Pascal Giroux.
Nice. I like it.
Why not, right? And then for Toronto, I went with Matt Hamlin.
Nice. Yeah, Matt Hamlin, awesome.
Yeah, you want to speak on them?
No, yeah, just Matt's awesome, and Matt's got crazy good wins. He was a part of the first team event, and the one you were on, and the lightweights in that event, the teams, your lightweights and the other team's lightweights were relatively uneven, and Matt was one of the other lightweights, and he was pretty dominant that day. But I agree, in this list, he's
up against it. He's up
yeah,
against it for sure.
that's a perfect place to put him. If he was a little more active, and again, depending on what matches might happen for him before the draft happens, but if he was a little more active, he might jump higher on that list.
My middle. So with Montreal, I wanted to make sure they had some kind of left-handed guy, like that they could jump in there with the likes of Jamie and Jake. So I went with Eli Lapointe.
Yeah, 100%. And he's a guy I feel like, again, like you said in the beginning, these are your picks. The managers are going to have their own understanding of the guys and also preferences and everything. I feel like
He has a good chance to be on the main.
Yeah, he's probably a high pick. Like I feel like Christian would take him over Shea. Not that not that I don't agree with your pick, but I feel like
I think it's Shea's balance. That's why I went with it.
yeah, which is not you're not, again, I'm not saying that one is the right pick or the other, and just making the point, like you said, about that preference. All those things, all those factors are gonna come into play, and I hope it gets to the point where these guys are messaging these guys before the draft, like, hey, I really want to be on the team, like, like I want want the guys that make it to be excited to be on the team, which
I could also make this available to you if you want to post, just say, here's Ian's picks or whatever.
yeah, I'll definitely share it. Yeah, definitely share it with me later. I'll definitely put a.
And then for Toronto, after feeling his left, so I never rated him initially left-handed.
Yeah.
But I pulled with him in Toronto. Was it last Sunday? Was I
Oh, I know
there?
where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yeah, Blake Bouillon.
Yeah, and he's such a Toronto guy. If he's if he's a reserve or he's a part of this as well, he's he's so happy to be on it, and he's been such a solid force for GTA arm wrestling for this year.
I was gonna go with Bryce, but I
Well,
think
Bryce is the other weight class, right?
oh yeah, was it okay? I don't have the list in front of me right now, but
Yeah.
okay.
There's so many on that. Like if it like there's also so Eddie, Joseph, Josh Rodriguez, those guys don't end up getting picked with who you picked, who are all like solid guys. But I like your picks, and I like Blake.
Okay.
And yeah, his left, since I think he's had an injury right-handed, I'm pretty sure. And like all guys, once you injure one hand, the other one just gets way better. And now his left is like gotten really good.
Yeah.
So heavies reserved for Montreal.
I went with Andre Saint Germain from Montreal.
Nice.
Yeah, he's strong. I was impressed with him and Jamie Staken.
Yeah.
Jimmy won, but it was a hell of a match. They weren't blowouts. They were very close. So, and I almost a year's gone by, or maybe even a year. I don't know since. No, not quite. No. But anyway, a long time has gone by. By the time this stands up, it'll be pretty close to a year, and who knows if he's what level he's been able to up. So I give, and you know what? I wanted to make sure that there was some actual Quebecers represented here. And
Well, so one guy that Matthew Boucher, he won the heavyweights in Quebec this year, like 242 right and left.
Did
And
he?
he's Pierre's main training partner. So he's another example of a guy that Christian will probably know better and might end up on that list. But
See, that's where my ignorance on certain people.
this is why this is why we're doing it. And like you said, it's
So I'm familiar with Andre Saint Germain, and I felt comfortable with that pick. I'm not going to change it because, like I said, I also look at the potential. Like I said, where he could be.
Where he could be now, yeah.
You know,
just even saying that, who's a great example of that, because and another one, like I said about Matt Hanlon, if he was more active, he might be way higher. Is Jacob Carroll, like a kid that if he's been training and he's on point, he's got so much fucking genetic potential. That kid is he can be a freak.
And I'm looking at these two lists right now. I think I cannot tell you who the favorite is now. I really picked it like that. You know what I mean? Because I see where some areas it's going to be tougher for one, but this is very balanced in my opinion. And then and I can't even believe I'm saying this because I'm such a big fan of this guy, like huge fan. And I mean, I've had him on main cards at Mac. I cannot believe I have him as a alternate. Tyler Bozan.
For Toronto?
Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, how is it that Tyler is on my, and it's just because right now I think Mike Smith is just ahead of. Just what I think right now, just a bit ahead.
Well, I think what you said, I think it's balanced. I think that Mike will probably beat Tyler majority of the time right-handed, and Tyler and Mike are probably pretty even left-handed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly where I went with that. If BLM didn't exist, Mike Smith and Tyler would be my two pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For them. Yeah.
So
supers, yeah. So obviously Adam Wallace, big right-handed guy, has got win on Curtis Cameron. Beat Liam at provincials, so I have to rate him.
Yeah.
And then for Toronto, who do you think I picked for Toronto? I'm a huge fan of this guy. Huge fan.
I think Zach.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's who I picked, Zach.
Yeah, Zach's awesome. Zach Shattuck is awesome, and he's another guy that doesn't show up that often, but when he does, it's always a level up from the last time he showed up.
And I don't rate his left because I can't think about.
He
I don't
doesn't,
know.
he doesn't, he's a London guy, so they're one of those teams that think the left hand's for the peg, which is fine, but they don't pull. Not a lot of guys from London really pull left-handed very much.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's I think he's getting. I know he has a new training partner who might be better left-handed, so maybe he's getting a little better. But Zach's definitely much more right-hand dominant. But his right hand is getting ridiculous, and like I said, every time he shows up, it's a level up from the last time. So yeah, that's definitely a cool pick. I love it.
Yeah, I think honestly today Zach Shattuck would rip my arm off.
Right-handed.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
I mean, if he's really on point, like I said, if that pattern has continued, then yeah, I wouldn't want to pull him right-handed right now either. I think I'm technically ranked higher than him on the Ontario rankings right now, which is probably unfair. My right hasn't been active enough to maintain that at all.
And I'm telling you that um he made a tactical error against me, but had he not done that, had he not sold what he was doing to me, and he would have went with that, the move I had planned to use against him would have failed, and he would have beat me. But that's why he never. In that setup, don't tell him anything. Don't tell people what you're doing.
At TAWF one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he sold his move, and I was like, shit, because I was gonna go into that lane, and I had no chance of beating him there. And then I switched it up. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest lessons I learned from pulling with experienced guys like yourself. Like I've learned that so many times from Mike, where he'll make something feel wide open in the setup, and then right before the go, he'll change it, and then right where I'm ready to go is like not open anymore, and then you get this brain fart, and you're like, oh fuck, what's going on? And if you felt that, like if you were in the experienced position of that, where you're like, oh, he's gonna go there, okay, boom, and then you
He was excited. He saw that there was a name puller in front of him. He knew he was strong. I mean, he beat Alan Ford that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He beat Jeff
Yeah.
Slater. Jeff Slater was good that day.
Yeah, no, he was really Zach. That's what I'm saying. Zach was really on point, and he pulled a Mac not long ago, right? Didn't he pull a Mac for you, Mac 2?
He pulled Mac 2, yeah.
Yeah.
He beat
One,
Jeff 3-0.
He beat.
Jeff Slater.
Oh, that was when he pulled Slater, but he beat him at TAWF as well.
Yeah, and that was
what set up the match, right?
That's right. Because Jeff was like, "Oh, I made a mistake, and I think I could get him." I said, "Well, I know a guy who knows a guy who can set that match up." And then we did, and then honestly, Zach was too much. Zach, he's like 6'2", but he's like my son Liam. He's got like a
Really long lever and big hand.
Yeah.
I just want to say hi quick to the guys in the chat, Richard Jenkins and Street Level Arm Wrestling. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us. And yeah, there was something else. Is talking about that Slater and Zach and how that match came up from the team thing. As we finish the draft now, we've got a little bit more. We can keep going if you want for however long you want. But I figured one of the things we could talk about was just how you always make the point, rising tides raise all ships. Like maybe talking a bit about why we like working together, but also how I'd like to bring up and explain how team arm wrestling I don't feel like will replace or should replace, and I have no intention for it to replace super matches. And super matches should always have a place because it's the best way, like that example, to find out who actually is the best between those two guys. Like, yeah, he beat me at the tournament or he beat me in the team thing, but let's duel it out and find out who's the actual best. it's got to be a super match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this is just two different concepts. I mean, there's super matches is like you said, more for the who puller A versus puller B, who's the best. And this is teams, who's the best team. Like that's it's just different, but it's fun. I love the concept. There's more involved in this there's more room for speculation. There's then and like you said for stats and this is going to lend itself for all the arm wrestling geeks that will really want to take a deep dive and scenarios and maybe even betting, because like who's going to be matched up in this round and maybe
Well,
some.
okay, so if betting is one we could talk about for sure, I'd love to talk about that because that's one of the, as I've obviously done a ton of research and work and trying to figure out how to market this and one of the things that makes it the team thing, like you're saying, because of the stats and all those elements. I'm hoping that it's not just arm wrestling nerds, it's just sports nerds in general that get into it. And that's what brings people, like actually brings eyes onto arm wrestling, is when sports nerds start to nerd out on it and then they
Yeah.
start to talk about it. And then, that's how it starts to catch fire where they're like, oh, what's this arm wrestling thing? And once that happens, then the super matches will have so much more value because now there's actually people interested in what's happening and they've seen the backstory and they've gotten into it because of all these nerdy stats that the team thing creates.
Yeah, 100%. And like I don't look at the right now, these two teams are chock full of athletes that would be on that card. It's not like we're taking inferior guys here.
Oh, yeah.
These are top level professionals, and yeah, I'm looking at it, and in my brain's going, and I'm like, geez, you know what? Depending on how this, that, and the other thing goes, for sure. You want a real answer to that question? Why I think this works as in a collaboration between us is because of this exact thing. You're going to provide me because I'm going to be there front and center and I'm going to see these matches live and I'm going to take notes and then we'll discuss like, hey, what do you think about these two guys at a MAC event? You know what I mean? And that's just like how the Challenger series is feeding into my prelims. This can help feed my main cards.
Yeah,
You
and it should, and that's the whole point, exactly. And once, once there's a full season happening, now that third pick isn't a reserve. That's like you've got 12 guys on your team, and every week you bring like every time. Not every week there's a game. Every 2 weeks there would be a game for your team. Every 2 weeks you bring 8 to the game. So now that strategy even comes more like it's just the teams you just picked. Now it's like, okay, this game we're definitely bringing Tyler because they have this left-handed puller. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
or
okay,
or an
Tyler is
injury, or a guy
exactly
is just too burnt. He's like,
from the last exactly. Now all that starts to play out, and again, like you said, the speculation and it adds to all as the season unfolds. Like, oh yeah, but Tyler's had 3 crazy games in his row. His left hand is really destroyed. Like, what's he gonna do? But it becomes a whole all that added to it, right? And yeah, then that to me is what's going to bring eyes to the sport is the storyline. It creates storyline without us having to create it because right now
it'll be a natural storyline. It'll
yeah,
be
exactly.
natural.
Right now it's always got to be like some storylines are real, but for the most part they've got to be hyped and created. And then just to get back to the betting quick, uh, so in doing all my research, one of the things I found out was one of the reasons that arm wrestling hasn't lent itself or has been hard for betting. I mean, one of the obvious ones is how easy it is for reffing and for people to influence the results of matches, which has lent itself to be hard for it to be like regulated enough that that like Vegas will get behind it and actually put stats on it. But one of the other reasons is that what betting people that put betting together look for is opportunities to place a bet. What are we betting on? And with the super match format the way it is right now, there's not a lot of things to bet on. Like who wins? Who do you win by a shutout? Like maybe how many fouls, maybe you can start to elaborate on some of the nerdy things. But now with the point system and the game, there's like, I think I did the math, there's something like 200 betting opportunities a game. You know what I mean? Like for different things you could put in if you really wanted to elaborate it. And that's one of the appeals for betting that the point system and the game system brings out. Like, who's the best lightweight of the day? Who's the best? All those. Who wins the most left-handed matches? Who's got the most points per game per pull? Who's got the like? You can just start to go nuts on all the things you can bet on. Which is why football, for example, is such a great game for betting, is because there's like 500 opportunities to bet every game. You know.
Yeah, and if you want to take it one step further, I think we discussed this yesterday. Like once you build your website and you have more time. So like when this is over, you're gonna have quite a bit of time to do all your analysis after, and you could maybe have a section off on your website where you do like the Todd Hutchings thing, like what he did about the Devin Larratt, all those stats, and then boom.
Yeah, and like I was saying, and then those stats can all be point per poll. They can all be point based. So there's more of a nerdy number to follow to see the actual difference. You know, it
Yeah.
becomes. Uh,
I'm so excited for this.
yeah,
Listen, this is how excited I am. I literally have a Mac event going on that day, and I'm going to be at the team event.
yeah, yeah. I know.
I'm literally like my Mac team is in the States, and they're going to do something with James Reed. It's going to be awesome at the America. But I've been looking forward to this for so long.
Yeah,
Like I said, or you said it. I was part of the original tough one, and I've been in love with the situation. We had when we did Tough 2, it was cool. We had some learning things, right? We got some learning things. But now that we've had time and to really take a deep dive in what needs to happen, I think you've done that.
yeah.
And now just like with your logos and with
Well, it's
the
like,
team.
I think even like with sports, everything you always know, you don't really learn until you take a loss. As I'm, my most recent loss, I'm learning that, and I think that's what. Not that Tough 1 was or Tough 2 was a loss, but taking a bit of a like learning experience there to be like the way that we've responded to it, or I've responded to it, to know what happened, like you said, to figure out, okay, these are the things that we definitely have to focus on, and and yeah, now the next step we've taken, I think the game has been cleaned up really good. I'm really excited to see this format unfold. I think, like you said, now having just done one mock draft, and the teams are nowhere near what I picked the first time I did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I don't even have it written down, but I know
Oh,
that
just off of memory?
I just know that they're not. There's a lot of crossover, but there's a lot of differences too, which is really cool.
Okay.
I'm excited to see, because, like you said, even the way you have it now, the teams are competitive. Like, how the game's going to unfold, you don't know. And that to me is the only thing that we've missed so far with the tough events, is that the games haven't been tight enough. And I think that once we see one close game where it's really coming down to the last couple pulls, or it's coming down to strategy of like who you're putting against who, and do you actually go for a foul or not? Like, that's another thing I expect and I'm going to encourage as I'm talking to the managers and the players and everything, the pullers, is that like the fouls are there to be utilized. That's why they affect the points. Like, it's better for you to win the match and get points than to just hang on to something. Like, if you can professionally foul out of a match, do so. The fouls are hard enough that you're not going to get an accidental foul. That's why we're using MAC tables and MAC rules, because we don't want fouls to be accidental. We want them to be intentional. But at the same time, with the way the points and everything, it's not a super match. Use the fouls if you can. It's the one pull, and that's going to even add to more strategy, I think, which I'm really excited to see how this game unfolds.
All right. So I have
Go ahead, sir.
when we get offline here or off live, I have all my picks in an email ready to send to you. I just need you to tell me what it is.
Yeah,
I have it on my phone, but like I can.
No, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
With that being said, yeah, is there anything else you want to touch on? Do you want to talk about Mac at all, or the table, or anything you guys got coming up? Or
we have Mac is we're growing. We got a new clothing manufacturer. We're really excited for swag. Mac 4 is rounding out to be pretty Pretty cool. We do have some, I don't want to get too into it, but we do have some things that we have to navigate. The Shaw Classic just stood up 2 weeks before Mac 4. So it's that's a big company to have to share marketing time with, if you know what I mean.
But you know what? It's nice to know that Mac is at a level now where you have to worry about sharing time with someone like the Shaw Classic, which is where it is right now.
Fair enough. We're confident that we can do
No problem.
something. We'll do something, and then obviously we're working on something big. I don't know if you noticed my hat, but that should tell
Yeah.
you what that big thing is. But I'm not prepared to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Because loose lips sink ships. But just know that I am supporting these guys. They're good dudes, and whatever people believe about them or whatever BS went down in the past, note that they really didn't have anything to do with it. How could they? They weren't even arm wrestling people. They were just investors that want to grow the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a new sheriff in town helping them out, and when there's more details to share, um, but maybe we'll do it on your channel. And we'll do another one, and I'll say, hey, I'll
Well,
do a
yeah, this
big
podcast is going to be every other Sunday, so I'm going to keep this going, focused again on TAWF, but every other Sunday. But we're going to, want to talk about everything arm wrestling throughout the podcast. So definitely, as you have news, you keep me posted, and we'll keep everybody else posted.
Do you plan on getting the coaches on a podcast?
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna. So I haven't like totally figured everything out, but
Yeah.
there's going to be a girls' portion of the Montreal Toronto thing happening, so I'm going to be announcing that. We'll probably have them on one of the shows. The coaches, like you said, is definitely going to be a show. The athletes are invited every week, so hopefully one or two or more start to join on every week or every other week as we have every episode. And then I'm going to get the guys. I'm going to try to talk to been talking to guys out in Calgary and Vancouver for those teams for that event, which would be later. So have them come on at some point and talk about it, just to start expanding that way. I want to bring the Dan and the Long Island guys and the Detroit guys on at some point. So just going to keep focusing it on that. But yeah, the coaches for sure. And like I said, everything focused on that. Other guys that might be interested, so I'm gonna reach out to all the big guys that might want to come on and see whoever can come on for a to talk about it. Auden probably reach out to him. He might be interested. We did a podcast with him and his dad way back talking about TAWF, so he's always liked the idea. But yeah, that's the idea, is just focus on this event right now. We got to really push it. We got to push the Indiegogo and really get a lot of people behind it. But
Well, you've been amazing partner with Mac, and the support. You were literally the first dude to have a professional super match on a Mac table with Nathan Leland, right?
Yeah.
As a proof of concept match, right? Which
Yeah.
it couldn't have been better. It went 6 rounds. Well, it went
Yeah.
went 5, but we actually ended up doing a sixth match because you both said that I called an early pin, and I was like, okay, let's do it again. Do you remember?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I was like, okay, let's do it. And that actually made me feel good, because I was like, you know what? I like when a referee can admit is wrong in the time and corrects it. You know what I mean? Instead of being butthurt about, no, I call it whatever. You know what I mean? Fuck that. No, let's just get it right. And both of you guys were happy with the outcome, right? Because if we would have left it like that, then one of you would have had something to bitch about, right? So you guys came to a final conclusion, kind of like what happened with Dev and Alex, right? So that didn't get resolved correctly, and now there's a shit taste in their mouth right now, right? So they're gonna have to go, but that didn't happen with us, and it's good. And I wanted to say, all along with that, you've been to every Mac event. And while working super hard at this team thing, like putting in hours, it's noticeable, my friend. Like I know it. People don't understand. You're the hardest working guy in arm wrestling. I'm telling you, you guys do not know the hours this guy puts in, making this team event thing going well. The concept, to getting people to do the graphics and the team scoreboard and everything, and then being a competitor, you're still training. Like me, I've checked out. Like my competitor, this is Mac is everything right now, and I'm trying to lend myself to be a good ally for you, but it's been difficult for me to try to train. Like train what? Like I don't personally, I don't have the ability. And you have a 9 to 5 job, so I'm really impressed with your what you've been doing for the sport, and I do have full belief that this is one of the versions of arm wrestling that will absolutely make it mainstream. I think this is the avenue, man. Like I really do. I mean, I think I would love for Mac to have that, and maybe we will. I'll be able to push it mainstream, but I actually do see this as being one of, if not ahead, certainly on par with whatever Mac's doing. And
Yeah.
then, and the fact that we're aligned with the tables and rule sets would mean if there was ever some sort of TV deal or whatever, it would be a seamless transition. Okay, this is team, this is Mac, blah blah blah. You know, we're familiar with the rule sets. We wouldn't have to re-educate our fan base.
Yeah,
You get
that's
what I mean?
that's exactly, yeah, that's a big part of that too. And
Yeah.
even just the like with the scoreboard, like we've talked about how to use the same scoreboard for this, whether it's super matches or the team or even the
I would
tournament.
love that. I would love to be able to do that because
Which is gonna, like, we're gonna do, like we did it already for Mac 3, like
it was amazing.
we'll keep doing it that way. But is like you said, is that continuity is hugely important. And even like we've talked, some like crossover, like there's ways to run super matches, like a smaller little team event, like we've talked, which is basically like, so I mentioned the girls portion, like that's what's going to end up happening there is there's 3 super matches, and instead of running one super match all matches back to back, we're going to run the first round of each match one after another and then rotate it. And
Yeah.
3 girls are Toronto, 3 girls are Montreal, so it's still team based.
Wasn't that was my idea, wasn't it? Like
Yeah, you probably were
yeah,
yeah,
'cause-
exactly. Like the point is with the team format, there's so many different ways that you could organize it and run it. The doing it that way doesn't allow for any strategy and things,
oh
but
no.
it's a great way to incorporate that into a super match format, which, like, the thing you noticed, the reason that you were like, holy fuck, and like you said before, even almost a little jealous at TAWF 1, was because that part of it, the idea of doing the super matches of no break, and like while you're resting, I'm pulling.
Yeah.
That was the part that you were like, that's the genius, you know? And
Yeah, that's
there's still
why.
a way there's still a way for Mac or East versus West or anybody that wants to do super matches to incorporate that if they actually want to. I think that, I think that Mac will end up doing it, or we'll do it in some way. But the point is that
It's gonna happen. I think it'll be you that launches that first. Obviously,
the girls are going to do it. Yeah,
the girls are gonna do it. So it would be very interesting to see it play out.
but
And
I could definitely see it being something that you incorporate at Mac events, like maybe the Challenger Series. There's a situation where 2 clubs are bringing, like, there's 3 super matches between the 2 clubs, and instead of having them run their super matches separate, you're like, okay, these 3 super matches are going to be done this way. And it allows also anything that can be a little different, a little cooler. It's like the WE, where it's like it's not just one-on-one. Now it's a tag team match. Now it's a whatever the brawl was, where it was like everybody, like one guy enters every minute or whatever it was. I don't know. I didn't watch
yeah, Joey Harper did a tag team match with him and his son-in-law Logan versus Patrick McKinnon last 2 summers ago. Like, yeah,
Remember what I did with Brian DeSormo and Curtis versus Porkchop? I think that was the first one that I've ever seen.
yeah, yes, you are okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Todd won 6-0, but by the end of it, because of the back and forth, Brian ended up
That's online right now. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's on our
Yeah,
channel.
yeah.
It's
That
one
was
of
a
it's
great
got one of the-
idea. That was a great idea.
It was
Todd
it was a fun one because
wasn't
that
Brian
was
closer to winning one of the matches? Didn't he get a pin? But no, it was Brian that got the
Brian
pin.
got close because Porky definitely got into two wars with Todd. Like the first one, it was like maybe the first one Todd got him, and then the second one Porky was more in there, or the other way around. But the first two matches were pretty good between Porky and Todd, but they were super inside hard grinders. And then Brian was going after Todd's hand, and by the third round, he took his hand, and Todd had to do his little side pressure thing, and it was pretty cool. Like once Brian cracked the wrist, the whole room was like, "Oh shit!" Like it went crazy, right? And that was a cool. That's a cool thing to do. And I think those kind of things are way more interesting and going to draw way more attention and be way more valuable than gimmicky matches. You know, like what you're talking about, the shit that those guys got for something that they did, which wasn't them. I'm not pointing that out, but that's an example of. I don't think those kind of gimmicks are the right way to go with the sport. I think that's
They were really upset about that, and
yeah. I didn't want to touch on it more than that, and agree that like they didn't have part to do with that. But unfortunately, it happened under that brand right now. So that's an example. But there's many other examples of it, like and even older ones that I don't know that I'm sure you can tell me.
oh, they weren't the first to put on things like that. That's for sure.
You know which one? The Juji one. Was it Juji and Aiello or whatever? It was a WAL one.
And there was two extremely famous arm wrestlers on the other side of the world that did something like that, which I'm not going to elaborate more, but it was a very famous match. To come to find out, it was BS. So
there you go. It happens. That's the point. And my point is that I think there's way more interesting ways to expose the beauty that is arm wrestling, which to me is, like we said earlier with Pascal, once strengths are somewhat close, it becomes a fight. And that's what's cool about that. The 2 against 1 is the first 2 matches, the strengths are clearly not close. Todd Zilla clearly goes whack with the 2 guys he's pulling, but then because fatigue starts to set in and they've only pulled once and he's pulled twice now, and by the 3rd, 4th pull, the strengths start to even out a little bit, and that for the people that don't arm wrestle, I think is where they get to really experience the sport in the way that us that do arm wrestle experience it all the time. That makes us love it. You know what I mean?
I would like to see Porky and Todd right now. Actually, Porky is so strong and stupid.
Yeah,
I watched him with Devin last night. It was like scary.
That's great.
Yeah.
He's got Arm Gods coming up, right? Is that what it's coming up for him?
I didn't ask. He's got something. Yeah. He's also got Mac 4, but it's a left-handed match. Yeah. But man, I gotta get going.
All right. Real quick, Matt Oliver asked how the draft went. Matt, we're gonna post it. I'll post something on Facebook, Table Monkeys, and I'll post Ian's picks. But it was fun, and the teams are tight, and it's going to be we're going to keep doing it, and it's going to be awesome. Thank you for asking. You all good, Ian?
I'm good. Just stay online when you go off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're going to end the stream now, guys. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, every other Sunday we'll be on. Different guests, and I'm sure Ian will be back more than once. But thank you guys all for joining. And this is the FlameCast, talking about TAWF, talking about arm wrestling, Table Monkeys, Mac, all of the above. Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
All right, I have it, but just tell me now what your email is.
Okay.